I think power for me, in a simple way, would be just saying that it's the ability to make change about something. But I think having feeling strongly about something, having the ability, like feeling really incredibly strongly about a topic, but actually having the ability to take action, not just sitting with that feeling of like really caring about something, but being able to like get up and do something, whether it's in your community or it's a really big change. And I don't think power has to be. It doesn't have to be like a massive thing that you're doing that means that you've got a lot of power. It can be in your local community, it can be at your school. It really depends on the situation. Just being able to do something important to you. It's subjective, I think, what's important. So I'm not sure.
Yes. So for me, I'd say what power means to me is to have the means or ability to influence something. So it could be making change within policies. It could be influencing somebody or motivating somebody. It can be in general. It could be just how it's power. It could be your strength. How if you
Yeah,
can lift something to support.
yeah,
Little things like that. So just having the means or ability to influence something.
yeah. I'd agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So thinking about also like in our experiences. So Maisie, I'm not sure if you describe yourself as a change maker, but I'm pretty sure you're doing amazing stuff from what I've heard. So I'd say you are a change maker. So thinking about our definitions of power, how have you, I wanted to ask you, how have you used your power in your journey so far?
Um, I think for me, a big part of power in terms of like activism has been a lot of eco activism. That's been the
Mm,
main focus. I think I've done quite a lot of stuff within my community. I've not up until now with the youth ambassadors. Now, obviously, we're looking at doing a petition that's going on a wider scale, like towards policymakers, to try and have influence and power over them, which is kind of the biggest scale thing that I've done so far. At the moment,
mm,
it's just been smaller things, trying to influence like my community, putting up posters around the town, trying getting people to like sign petitions and things around my school. So it's been like smaller groups.
mm,
I was part of a group last summer that I thought was really powerful, or felt very powerful for us, especially in terms of youth activism. It was a girl at my school. She all on her own. She managed to get funding for this group, and she got together people that she had done protests with, people she was friends with, people that went to her primary school eco group, everyone she thought would care about the environment. And we had an environment themed stall at Traquair, which is just near where I live. We had a stall there at the festival, and we sold like secondhand clothes, and we made an environmental video raising awareness and talking about statistics. And then that went to like an environmental group. But that felt very powerful because it felt like we could have quite a
mm.
lot of influence because a lot of people went to the festival, and there was also quite a lot. It wasn't really a festival aimed at kids, so it felt like we could have quite a lot of influence over adults that would be going. Um, so I found that really helpful and really powerful.
Mm-mm. That's really good. That's really good. And I don't want to be patronizing or anything, but the fact that you're doing all this amazing stuff, are you still in school?
Yeah, I'm 15.
You're 15 and you're doing all this stuff. For me personally, the way I've been able to use my power, like I'm not gonna lie, when I was younger, I was always that kid that would be watching the TV and be seeing animal extinction stuff with WWF. I'd be seeing starving children, and I'd always want to do something about it. But because I was, it's a bit of an excuse in hindsight. But because I was 5 or 6, I didn't. It's not really an excuse actually, because I was 5 or 6 years old. But I didn't know how to actually do something, but I always wanted to do something, and I
Yeah,
carried that mentality into secondary school. But it got me into a lot of trouble because I'd always be arguing with my teachers if I didn't think something was fair or I wanted
yeah,
to change something. I did do some fundraising bits and bobs in school, but I never put myself forward. How do I say it? I would never say I want to do fundraising. A
yeah,
teacher would have to say we're doing a fundraising project. and I'd say, okay, yeah, I can get with that. I want to do that. So that's how I would get involved in that. But as I've got older, I've actually taken it into my own hands to make changes, and that's
Yeah.
just the people I've been able to meet, the mentors I've been able to gain. But for example, one thing I did last year was I did a mental health campaign on social media. So it was called the Health as Wealth campaign, and we did webinars, we did weekly clubhouse discussions. The webinars were weekly as well, daily posts. We had some young people making videos for it. If I was to do that project now, because my network's much bigger now with young change makers and amazing young people doing stuff, I would have been able to make much more impact, but I was still able to make impact with that campaign and able to really shine a light on the challenges that people face with mental health and the different topics and things that can contribute and perpetuate the challenges that they're facing. So that's how I've been able to use my power so far in my journey so far as well.
That's true.
Now, also thinking about, because I mentioned right there that I was able to do a campaign digitally, but that was
Yeah.
because we were kind of still coming out of lockdown.
Yeah.
So I think I was a bit like, I could have done it in real life, but I still said to myself, that's a lot of money. And I want my funding to go to the people doing the webinar. I want to pay them
Yeah.
rather than me paying to do something that I'm not sure will work because I haven't done any. I'm an entrepreneur. So I was thinking, I'm not doing market research. I can't do market research. So I'm not going to test an idea if I'm not going to get a minimum viable product or whatever. So
Yeah.
I wanted to also ask you, Maisie, what are your thoughts on digital versus in real life youth social action as well?
I think there's like a lot of benefits for both of them, because I think for digital youth social action it can reach a lot of people, like you were saying there, it can cost less as well. And also, if you look at even like our youth social group, there's people who are in England and Scotland and like in other parts of the UK, and it's really expensive for everybody to try and meet up if we were meeting up in person. But if we can just like click a little link and go on Zoom once a week, and we can have the same kind of conversations, I think that's really great. And it just, and also if you're trying to influence a lot of people online, if you're posting on social media about things that you care about, you reach way more people than going around putting up posters around your town. Um, that I think in real life use social action, sometimes that's a bit more like if you're wanting like a really massive change but within a smaller community. If you want your whole community to be really on board with something, posting about it on social media isn't really going to get everyone of all ages involved. But if you're wanting like just a really widespread amount of people, things like online petitions and can be really good. It just makes it easier. Like the online algorithm will send your post out to people who have similar views as you. It reaches the people that you want to in an easier way. But also, I think in real life, youth social action, um, there's kind of a bit more of a feeling of community, being like actually physically there with people and discussing things that everyone there really, really cares about. I don't think you can. Sometimes you can't recreate that online, and you can't do things like making posters and leaflets and things all together in quite the same way. But I think there's positives and negatives for both.
Yeah, Maisie, I second that. I second that. I agree. And I think with my experiences, the most impact I've been able to make have been digital social action. But
Yeah,
again, what you said about community in real life is super, super key because you're able to obviously or digitally you're able to learn from each other, but
yeah,
also in real life you'll be able. And I'm somebody that's very people that know me, especially adults that know me, because I say it all the time to them. I'm somebody that actually wants to build meaningful relationships with people.
yeah,
And to be honest, that's not just professional relationships. I'm not that type of guy that's always like network, network, network. I've got to build my network. It's about also friendships as well.
yeah,
Because like as the law of association states, you're the average of the five people you spend the most time with. I'm not on this earth just to make money. Obviously, I want to put a roof over my head. I live in London. That's what I need to say. I live in London, so I need to earn some money. But also, I want to make social impact. I want to have a good legacy. I
yeah,
don't want to be known as somebody that just made money and didn't do much else. I want to be known as somebody that made an impact on his community, was able to aid others, and was generally a kind person. And I think people that do this kind of work, most people, not all of them, most people that do this kind of work are very kind people who want to see the world in a better place. So I think that, as you said, there are pros and cons to both. But if I was to choose one to do for the rest of my life, I'm choosing in real life social action due to the fact that you're going to be able to build relationships with people, and I personally think you'll be able to gain more skills from that too, especially teamwork on
Yeah,
a larger scale than you would doing it just digitally.
yeah, I'd agree. I think, I mean, if you look at what gains, I mean, you obviously you get a lot of online stuff that gains a lot of attention. You know, online petitions and things can be great for lots and lots of people. But if you look at you know, things like marches and protests,
Mm,
I think a big part of it for getting media attention is actually physically seeing the amount of people that are there. You know,
yeah,
there's a visual impact of like, look at the amount of people that believe in this. If you're trying to convince somebody that, and it's a bit more difficult to like get a sense of that if you're looking at lots and lots of numbers, and like, you know, if you're looking at the amount of people who have agreed to something or supported something online, it's great and it proves that there's a lot of people who care about it. But if you're looking for to really get it in people's heads that so many people care about this thing, seeing, you know, thousands of people marching through the streets, I think kind of proves
yes.
that the best.
That is so true, and I never even thought of it like that. Are you sure you're 15 with this intelligence? Are you sure that you're 15, Maisie? I never thought of it like that. And looking back, I'm looking back at certain things, certain marches and other campaigns, projects that have actually been in real life. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm not somebody that's always I'm not somebody that's ever been like, I need to see somebody doing it for me to do it. I've always been someone that said I can do it regardless. I don't care if I don't need to see anybody else doing
Yeah,
it. I'll go and do it. That's just who I am. And that's mainly because I grew up like a single parent household, no siblings. So I've always been in the space where it's like, if you're gonna do something, Jonas, just go and do it. You don't need
yeah,
anybody else to be with you to do it. So all the teamwork is important, by the way. But when I'm looking back at it now, there are some people that want to make a change and want to do something that takes a lot of courage. That we can agree takes a lot of courage, but they think they're the only ones fighting for it. But then
yeah.
when they actually see the people on the telly,
Yeah.
the thousands of people doing the march, or the thousands of people that have signed the petitions,
Mm-hmm.
even though that's digital, but still, it kind of it
Yeah,
aids my point. Then they're thinking, oh, okay, more people are doing this. Now they're more inclined to go out there and make that change as well. So there's definitely a
yeah,
psychological impact that in real life social action can actually have as well. And that's why, again, this video is for I Will Week. That's why the final event of I Will Week is an in person event.
yeah,
That's a positive because most of them are online. But then the grand finale, the main event, is an in real life event, and
yeah,
it's really showcasing what all the organizations that have worked with us have been able to achieve and do, what all the young people have said, amazing young people have said as well. And without that in real life event, I Will Week, I don't think it would be as impactful as it's going to be. And I Will Week, as we're recording this, I Will Week hasn't happened, but I know the events that are happening and it's looking sensational. But I think that that in real life event is going to add so much more value to this I Will Week. So that's just my opinion. This panel event is definitely something that was needed.
I know that it can feel like it feels really scary at the start when you're really passionate about something, but you don't really know what to do with the passion. You don't know how to get started, and you know, you feel like you're the only person that's invested in this. But I do think that you find a lot of other people that are like just as passionate about it as you, and you meet a lot of people, and that's, you know, that can mean just meeting friends, but it also means meeting people specifically for that reason. You meet other like-minded people, and then it feels a bit easier to do more things when you can collaborate with people and have video calls with like 10 other people that think believe the same things as you. It feels a little bit less like incredibly difficult when you don't feel like the only person. So I think, yeah, just you're not the only person if that's what it feels like, and you're wanting to know how to get started. Finding a group of people is good.
Wow, that was a really good one, Maisie, again. So I'd say, I'm just gonna be honest. It's gonna sound very harsh. Sorry, guys, but you, if you, how do I say this? Don't be somebody that just exists just to make money. And I know I mentioned it earlier, but have a social impact in your life. Have a mission that doesn't resolve around the pound sign or the dollar sign or the euro sign or the Eastern Caribbean dollar. None of it. It's important to make money, yes, because you need to live, but how do you want people, and trigger warning, guys, how do you want people to speak about you at your funeral? Do you want people to say, oh, they were selfish, they were just out for themselves, they just chased the money? Or do you want them to say they were a selfless person who did make a good living for themselves? However, if they had a business, their CSR plan was amazing. The stuff that they were doing in philanthropy was sensational. They were kind, caring, giving, all this kind of stuff. They supported young people. They did their part to stop the climate crisis. Is that what you want people to say about you, or just, oh, okay, they were happy, they made good money, they had a nice house? Those all materialistic, other than the happiness point. But let's not think about the materialism. Let's think about who you are internally as a person and what you really want to leave behind as well.